Welcome to Proud Chocolate. I am glad that you're there listening and watching. May God bless you very, very much. When we go out there and try to struggle and are able to educate our own sisters and brothers or the community back at home, then we develop our countries as a whole. So this is for all the aspirants in Africa, African diasporans or African expatriates is also another word, describers. And I also want to make you know today that we love our country and our countries and our continent in Africa, and most of us actually plan to get back home. We don't regret coming here. We love it here, but nothing better than home. All we do here is just to try and make it possible for us and for you people to be able to have a good retirement, a good future back at home. So we're going to talk about the importance of Africa diaspora today. You're welcome. And those who share my videos, I say a prayer for you every day, and I wish for God to touch you at your secret needs between you and God. It's only between you and God, as we can see you smiling and writing and typing, but we never know what's inside of you, what's disturbing you, what's failing you, what you're lacking. So all I can do for you guys is to say a honest prayer, a clear prayer, and a truthful prayer unto God while I'm praying for my own things, to be able to touch my friends online with their families and friends, and to bless them in the ways that only God knows, and also to make their wishes come true and their dreams, of course, become valid. The charities that I do in the diaspora for my country or for my continent, Africa, is to just promote their music. Yeah? The musicians may not recognize that, the producers may not recognize that, they can't, but God knows that these are the kind of things that some of us in the diaspora do to make our continent a better place, to be able to tell the Westerners that it's not just their music that is good. On my side, I just want to make sure that Africa is known for its best things. My culture, Luo, is known for what it does best, and to encourage also my roots. Its passion is my hobby. It's the love. I had a kind of a different childhood, but I thank my mother for bringing me up in church, in Sunday school. So I was so close to music. And when I grew up a bit, I found out that I really love Luo music. Why? Because I went to a village school near Mixed Primary. And those days when I was in school, most of my teachers who taught me, they used to take us to places called barazas in the village. So every community at the places where I grew up, there were barazas. So there was a baraza in front of Mweshimiwa Edwin Yinda's home. Edwin Yinda is the guy who is featured or has been sung by Emma Jalamo. And so we used to go there to the barazas, and we could listen to Nyatiti players playing and doing their poetry. So I grew up with this traditional music, Luo music. And when we went for music festivals, most of the kind of music that I listened to were sacred songs, folks music, those traditional songs in Luo. So my community was not about hip hop and stuff. Those are things that I had when I went to Nairobi. Then I could hear people singing Genie in a Bottle and I don't know, I Am Survivor and stuff. Those things, Kina Beyonce. But my growth, my roots, my childhood was embraced by traditional music, and that is why I felt so in love with Luo music in particular.
Terry Nyamia.
So you guys, let's take this opportunity and just talk a bit. We are proud Africans, despite the fact that we are here in the diaspora. It's not in vain that I normally speak about the temperatures here. It's just to appreciate and, to just thank God. It's fate that brought us here. Each and every one of us that are Africans in the diaspora were picked up uniquely by God to be brought here. I, for example, in my family, in my nuclear family, my mother's house, I am the only one who is abroad, and I am the one that nobody ever thought would be out here. My mother even never agreed at first that I leave her and come over here. Let me say in 2004, I had an opportunity to come over, but my mother refused because my mother thought I was going to suffer, being that, the time I started hearing of people going abroad, The stories that we had of those Costarian girls who were shipped to Saudi Arabia and mistreated. That's how we got the message. And so no parent who was sober would allow their kids to just go abroad like that unless, they had proof that things are all right. And then worst of all, when my mother heard that I wanted to go to Germany, she couldn't just believe it because of the kind of a picture that Africans or as Africans had for Germany, which is racism, which I would stand up and defend Germany for, not 100%, but maybe 20% or 30%, because I've lived here. I have experienced racism a little bit, yes, but let me say 30%, but 70% of my life in Germany, I have seen positivity too. So this picture of Germany being racist came to our continent because of the stories or the history of Germany, where Germany was divided into two. You know that Germany was divided by the Berlin Wall. That one everybody knows. We learned that in high school too. So the people who are from East Germany, they kind of were not exposed. They were not exposed to the West. The West of Germany, they had exposure to international world, but the East Germany people, they were not exposed. So when a black person, for example, ever crossed to that side or landed there as a worker, it was going to be difficult for them because these people are people who did not know about really black people. All they knew about black people are things that they learned during the Cold Wars and stuff, that Africans are backward and all these things. The narrative of death, disease, and despair. All the 3 Ds, yeah? Yeah. It's kind of a narrative that when you go to Africa, you only find sick people on the streets, poor people. People are always dying because of the kind of things they see. Our funerals are kind of a culture. We kind of we overdo them than the Westerners. So when they come and they see the way we bury our people ceremoniously, they think that we're all about death and diseases, AIDS. This kind of picture that comes on television about Africa. We as diasporas being out here, we have helped to destroy that myth and all those narratives about Africa. That is what the Westerners knew about Africa. So they thought Africa is all about donations. They need to donate for us over Christmas. Americans thought that they need to sing for us, heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race, from USA to Africa. It was all about Africa, Africa and poverty, Africa and what? Africa, on the wrong note. Assuming everything that Africa has, assuming the fact that Africa is also just on this planet like any other part of this world. We are only divided by the waters and the cracks, but Africa is a rich continent. Yeah, but because we were weak and we had been colonized and our cultures have been robbed off us, kind of, So all diasporans here, when they see me, for example, the proud chocolate, they wonder, hey, but, like my neighbors, they say, but I think Africa is poor. When you go to Kenya, do you wake up in the morning and you find an elephant in front of your house? When you are maybe riding or walking on the streets, going to in the streets of Nairobi, you're walking, not even driving. Do lions cross the streets, or such things that they ask us? Are you sharing an office with a lion and a zebra? These things they see on TV. So being here, I can be able to answer, to stand as a voice for my country and say, hey, I could answer you if I want or not. You can also judge from how you see me. Do I look like an animal? Do I look like I share a bedroom with an elephant? Yeah? So such things, We are showing them now that Africa is educated, optimistic, and actively working to transform itself. In Germany, education is free. All the university students pay here is Mensa and maybe transport, maybe hostel accommodation, Those are the things they pay. But education in itself is free. The other thing is, the German kids are lazy, especially in this generation. They're looking for shortcuts. In this YouTube generation, Instagram generation, influencer generation. They don't want to go to school. They go to easy schools, like what we call here Gesamtschule, or lesser and lesser going into gymnasium, which is like national school, less, because they see no need. They know that anyway, their parents had been educated already. Their parents have money. They can inherit their riches. Another thing, the government supports jobless people. The government supports kids. Young kids get medicine for free. So they don't see no need. They see no need of going to school. The German education system, or the German government, has made it possible for foreigners to come and fill in the university slots. But because education is free, and they cannot start saying that foreigners should pay and the Germans don't pay, that would be very unfair and would dirtify the image of Germany. What they have done is, when you want to do a bachelor here, all bachelors and these undergraduate programs, they're all in German. And this is to encourage their language to go international like English, because they don't like English. They speak English, they are taught English in school, but they don't take it seriously. They don't take it seriously, and that is where also this digital world has now brought an advantage to Germany, because now the kids in Germany who want to be influencers on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube are trying to learn English and are going out for international programs to be able to learn English so that they can communicate well and get viewers for what they do and be influencers and get affiliates, So my point here is, look at us Africans. Even though we struggle a lot to get the visas, we struggle a lot to, all this struggle, we struggle because we are optimistic. We are looking into changing our own continent. We are coming over here to pick up what they took from us, even if it means them frustrating us. It doesn't mean that we are less. So when we come in these universities, we really do well, and we struggle. We learn the language. Like me, I speak good, or let me say excellent German. I may have problems in grammar because of the articles, der, die, das, and those kinds of stuff. It's a bit difficult, but I can communicate. I can read a novel in German. I can speak out in German. I communicate in German. And so when I speak to Germans in German, they wonder, they tell me, whoa, aber you speak good German? They will tell you in German, du sprichst aber sehr, sehr gute Deutsch. And I would be like, what do you expect? I live in your country. That's one of the requirements of being here. And they would ask you, mostly if a white person or a German sees a black person and they want to talk to you, they'll start it, even if in the supermarket or by the doctor's office, a doctor's praxis, that is a clinic, they start with English because they think that we are just about English, Then me, normally when they start with English, I'll say, I also speak German, so you don't need to speak to me in English. So anyhow, the thing is here, the African diaspora have gone that far. We don't come here because we are dumb, but because we are brightest. And we see opportunities to go and grab and come back and build our country. And even as we are here, we still struggle to build. So those of you who are in Kenya and you're only having an experience of chit-chat groups and abusive entertainment groups that only show you the wrong side of the diaspora, know that those girls and boys who are in the diaspora and enjoy those entertainments, it's just a pastime, it's just entertainment. But they're more than that. What they do for your country is more than just sitting a few minutes on the internet and typing something and laughing at something that is entertaining. Their lives are more than that. For them to have survived in those countries where they are, where they're now diasporans, it is a struggle, and it takes something. It takes power and purpose to be able to stay that long in the diaspora, because these countries are not ours. Ours is Africa. Our continent is Africa. So for the Westerners to allow us to stay for so many years in these countries, it means that we are working, we are paying tax. Maybe we bless them with children who are going to build them up and is filling up the population, because their population is actually made of old people that are not helping them anymore, but only sucking their their finances, So we are developing them as we develop ourselves and develop our own homes. I love this country to death. I love Germany. I love Germany because I've lived in this country for 13 good years. That is not easy. But each and every day of my life, I spend my cash buying calling cards, which of course benefit, which benefit both this country and my country, Kenya. When I buy a calling card here, yeah, there's a tax that goes to Germany with that buying. I promote the German business. But then I'm calling Kenya, landing on Safaricom or on Airtel or wherever, I'm giving them money too. So I am, through my own cash, and it's very expensive to call between a continent and a continent, which we do most, and it's hard because even our people back at home, they don't call us. They would be writing you a message, call me, or they just flash you. Then you have to call. So who is benefiting the other? Is it not the diaspora who is helping out in Kenya? So we do this so that we're not lost. Even if the people at home, they only see us as money source, which is also okay. Why not? We came here with the purpose, and God has given us the opportunity and has blessed us to be able to bless them. But then we are developing our own continent better than those who are home. The reason is to maintain the strong bond. We have maintained this strong bond. Most of us, even those Kenyans who are born out here, when they grow up and realize that their parents migrated from another country, from Senegal, from Chad, from Liberia, from Nigeria, from Ghana, they start looking for connections there because they realize, we are just guests in this country. I have to, as a person, also try and build up my own relationship with my mother's continent. Because at the end of the day, in my black skin, however much I have a good dialect of the country where I live in, however much I wang or do the whole Hochdeutsch or the Plattdeutsch or the Bayern, the German, yeah, my black skin already is a judgment unto me. Everybody will tell me one day when I grow up that, where do you come from? They'll always be asking me where you came from. Yet you're born within them. So like politics, for example. Do you think that before diaspora, before active diaspora, before the digital world, the Western world used to judge our African continent the way they want. For example, during the colonialism. I'm not perfect, I'm just saying my own opinion. But then, also, people in the West depended on the news that they see, which has been edited and only what the president wants you to share with the people out there is shown, but not the real things. So this also contributed to wrong judgment of us. But now with the diaspora, we are helping to shape the policies and priorities because we are sharing, like now in the internet, when they get in the internet, they see that even TV crews and personal people with cameras, they go into the ground and try to put on the internet what's really on the ground, what's really up there. So that when the decision makers in the UN, UN in Geneva, for example, when they're discussing stuff and are with our leaders who may try to hide other things that are not real, they could still go back to the internet or maybe interview somebody in private in the diaspora who can tell them, no. This and this is wrong, this and this they're lying about it, this is the real thing on the ground. So they can balance and see how to prioritize in implementing or like bringing support or investing in Africa. So we are really helping in that way also. We share our underreported stories. We show with our platforms, for example, like me now, let me take myself as an example. Luo music that I promote, Kenyan music that I promote, even Bongo music that I do play here. You find that before, those years of when we only had Kina Mr. Blue and Kina Mr. Nice and Kina Wahoo and Kina Nazizi, our music was not so international. They were not even flying out those days to come and perform out here. Because nobody abroad was recognizing our music in Africa. We were being fed in even our own TVs with Beyonce songs and with what do you call these girls? Christina Aguilera songs and with those kinds of songs. The only international music that we are hearing within our African continent is our African music. Like the international music that we really absorbed was from Congo, and we didn't even know about Nigerian music anyway as I was growing up. So with these platforms like mine now, I'm bringing the African music, the real African music out there, even those ones that we had already, that were already among us Africans, like the South African Zulu songs and stuff. We are now sharing them in the West. And now you can come into a German's house and you realize that they are playing Susanna Weir's songs, Ayaye, Tiradene, Kisumu, which they don't even understand. Because they love the tunes and they like the originality. They are going to the Germans here, they even fill halls of Dodo Women Group. You know Dodo Women Group? That's a women group made of one man and who plays Nyatiti, and 3 women or 4, I don't know, who dance. You know, old mamas. They are of the age of 70, 80. And they tour these continents out here. And their concerts are filled with white people. Not even Kenyans go to their concerts. If Kenyans go to their concerts, it's maybe 3 or 2. Before also they thought that African music was just, you know, those things you see in the internet, what Wazungus thought were the only African music. They didn't know about Luo Rumba. They didn't know about bongo flavor. They didn't know about the Nigerian flavor. They didn't know. All they knew was these touristic things they see in hotels when they go to Diani and then they're being danced for. That is what they thought was our music. Yeah? But now they're with YouTube, for example, and us who go shoot these things and then show them on the internet, share them. They know that there are SDA choirs. They know that there's a lot, you know. So these are the kind of things that make us diasporas very important. We're using our talents. We're just not sitting on them. I'll take myself as an example again. I wanted to work on radio in Germany, but I couldn't get a job as a radio presenter in Germany in a government station or in national media because of assumptions that they had. I might have talent and I can, you know, if they were good people, if they were understanding people, if they really knew the other side of Africa before the diaspora came up, they would see somebody, and when you apply for something, they would interview you knowing that for you to apply for that job, you definitely have something, some background in it. You definitely are loving it. You can do it good. So if I were the Western people those days, I would say, okay, what can you help us with? How can you help Germany also come deep into Africa? Not only Africa coming into ours, you know. Then I would maybe tell them, okay, give me a segment once a week in this national radio station to play our African music so that Germans can hear it straight on when they're on traffic in their cars, when they're here listening to the weather and the traffic announcements. They can just listen to maybe Congolese Lingala. And, you know, but they would just assume Africans are coming, we have come abroad because we are in need of help. We are too poor. So we just need to be helped. We just need to further study, but we can't even pay. We need loans. So nobody would support you in that. They lower you into jobs like cleaning and going to do social work with disabled people, which is we do with all of our hearts. But most of the people who all do these jobs with disabled people, there are people who can do other things. Yeah, like the other day I was talking to a Syrian doctor. I have a Syrian friend who is a doctor. He invited me to his daughter's birthday on Saturday. And he was telling me that he's very, very mad at the Germans because most of the Syrian people, they are Syrian diasporans. They are doctors and lawyers and stuff, but mostly doctors. And Germany is lacking doctors at the moment. And so it would be good for the Syrian people, the doctors from Syria, to be given work permits to work as doctors in Germany because they're really good. Yeah? But they are only allowed maybe assistant jobs, like to assist doctors for some time. But when the doctors that they are assisting, because in Germany most doctors have their own clinics. Referral hospitals are for special cases. So every family in Germany has to have a family doctor. Family doctors have their own clinics, but in these clinics they have to manage. So they can't work alone. They look for other doctors to help them. And a doctor that you can get to rule around and to help is a doctor from a foreign country. And because not many Africans are allowed visas to come and work here as doctors, they give visas to those who are coming from East Europe or poor Western countries, yeah? Or those countries of war. But once they prove themselves that they can do it better, they can do it good, even better than those doctors that are trying to employ them, the government refuses them work permits because some Germans or some people in the community or in the society don't want foreign people in the country. Despite the fact that they need doctors and they need people to help and they need external professionals to come here, they just don't want to see their country full of foreign faces. So the thing is, with this diaspora issue, as now the new generation, the diaspora, and those strong, energetic, and bold, confident diasporans that came before us, we are now trying our best, yeah, to not depend on employment, not depend on opportunities by the Western people on us, but to thank God for what we already have, the fact that we are here, and then try to do something. Look at Sudanese. Even as Kenyans, we look down upon Sudanese. Because Sudanese people have been coming to our country escaping war. We have looked down upon Sudanese for so long, for such a long time. But then, even myself, I used to see Sudanese and I think I'm seeing strangers, Yet I'm also African. Yet even my own Luo culture, kind of our old ancestors, the Ramogis and the Ajuangs, they migrated from Sudan. But we are born and we come in the city and then we watch TV and then we see that we only see the negativity on these news, international news desks and stuff, even our own. And we see that Sudan, there's war and their leaders are now living in Kenyan hotels and they're being killed. And so we just judge them that way. We see them as war. We don't see what is hidden in them. We don't even recognize as our sisters, we don't recognize that they are really, really gifted and they are special and that they are carrying riches in them. Until I come to the West and realize that now with these digital times, with this digital time, the diaspora and Sudanese have come out and they're showing their strength. Kenyans, we most of us we don't like to identify with black even us. And this is a mentality that came from the West. The West destroyed us. Yeah, so we are lucky to come here again to show them that, we repented our sins of believing in you. So we thought that Sudanese are of low grade because they're black. They're black like this. But now you come to Instagram, you come to Facebook, you see that these Sudanese we were looking down upon, they even narrate their stories online in Vogue Italia and in Vogue Germany, in big magazines, that they came from Sudan and were refugees in Kenya and Kakuma, and then some Zungus took them from there, or their families got away to come to Egypt, and then from Egypt and go to Australia or America or wherever. Especially Australia opened doors for most Sudanese. And now these girls and boys, they have been recognized as models. These tall people we see working in Nairobi city, these refugees, out here they're treasured like gold. And like I told you, when they came here, when they were brought, they were not happy about it because they are brought as cheap labor. Mzungu who knows about modeling, about Naomi Campbell and Heidi Klum and those ones, those Mzungus who scout for them and see that there's some money that is hidden and in this raw material. They become the agents. They sell them to Chanel and sell them to Gucci and stuff for modeling expensively, very expensively. But then the money comes to the agency, and these Sudanese girls and boys, those days, before Facebook and Instagram, before reality came, before we became stronger, they were paid pennies, But they're happy because they're away from Kakuma camp, they're away from the debts and wars in Sudan. They're just happy to be in the Western continent with their parents, with their, the Alec Wek times. You know why now the models from Sudan now are earning much more than Kina Alec Wek did? Because they have stood together as diasporans, recognized their energy, their beauty, and what they can do for their own continent, and they've recognized they can support their country to come back to stability. And they are marketing themselves. They're taking their talents into their hands and showing their agents and the people who brought them from Africa, who gave them that opportunity, that they are worth $1 million. Look at Ducky Thought. Yeah, Ducky Thought. Who thought that an African, a Sudanese girl can take over the whole of modeling? You cannot even compare to I don't know. She's in the league of top. She's working with Rihanna, a Sudanese girl. There's another one called the Dark Princess or the Dark Queen. Black like this one, but is the most talked about model on the internet, earning a lot of money because they have learned to, they have come as a community as diasporans. They've made groups. They've become influencers and they've said, okay, with my blackness, let me show even these Kenyans that now we are people. Tell me which Kenyan has really made it that big. Those Sudanese we're looking down upon are the ones who are now showing us example. So now we are also starting. Look at Nikki. They are the ones who started doing family vlogs on the internet. And she's even the one who introduced the Ducky into modeling. And with that, now as Kenyan families, the likes of Kina Mbugua, they're now doing family vlogs on what? On YouTube. Why? Because they're coping. They're coping a Sudanese girl who has taken her situation into her hands and has become self-employed by being courageous and showing the people who took her in as a refugee that we can make it if we stand together. So diasporans are very important at changing the world. Diasporans are changing the world. So you home, don't take a diasporan for granted. Now you can see on Instagram and follow them and say, hey, look at this girl from Sudan. And what? If she didn't leave that Sudan and risk going to Kenya as a refugee, go with a ship to Egypt, cross to Australia, and then make a point of trying to model, yeah? And then come back again and identify with the roots where she came from. Would you embrace diasporans silly? So when you're talking about diasporans, think about such people. They're all African diasporans. Anyway, many of us also, we want to eventually go back home after what? After living abroad. We are not here to stay. And that is why we struggle much to keep communication with you. However much even our own sisters and brothers on the internet will bash us and tell us, we keep quiet with the diaspora. When we talk about elections or we are taking part, verbally in the campaigns, during campaigns, political campaigns and in decision making, when we are showing interest and trying our best to be into the discussions of what's going on in our continent, you keep bashing us. You shut up, what do you know? Why do you talk about voting and you don't have a vote? What? Hello? We would really want to have those votes. But this is the way that we are pushing and contributing into having good leaders. We could change positions, and you who is talking to come to the diaspora and see what we've gone through, to switch positions. We are very, very important. If it was not for us who are shouting and struggling so much to even discuss issues that are happening in Africa, how would the diasporans know? Because if I'm living maybe with Germans around me and I'm busy on the internet talking about politics and things that are going on in my country, economics, developments and stuff, of course I turn back to the people around me who are not even Kenyans and tell them about what's going on in my country. If there's a new supermarket that is opened or a new park, I'll tell them. And then I try to tell them, you know what, when you go to Kenya, go to Akode safaris, they'll take you here and here. I'm promoting her in the diaspora so that tourists go and they know very well. They're now interested in Kenya because I'm talking too much about Kenya. Or maybe I'm behaving well here in the diaspora, behaving well that they're now attracted to where I'm coming from. They're interested to see my roots because maybe they compare me to their children and they see that my behaviors are very neat and admirable, yet they thought that I came from a poor place, that I would be behaving awkwardly. So they're interested in seeing my roots. And now they're coming home as tourists because of me. So I've helped in developing our country by being like an ambassador for my own country. Yet I don't gain. I don't gain from it. My country gains from it. And my continent gains from it. If it was not for what we tell the people here, the Westerners, the tourism would be still for coming to see black people as animals and to come and see animals. But now we are bringing a positive tourism to Africa because of the way we are carrying out ourselves in the diaspora. So you see that Kenyan women or African women are getting married to international community, and then encouraging their husbands, their spouses to move back to Africa with them, to buy land in Africa, to invest in Africa, so that they can live in Africa. So most of us are not here to stay, and I can assure you that even me in Germany, I've never seen, maybe in the UK, but in Germany it's rare to find an old Kenyan man or an old Kenyan woman. Most of the diasporans who are here from my country, Kenya, are young girls and boys, 50 and below. Because they are working towards going back home. They in this generation especially, everybody is speaking about building a home in Kenya. Everybody is speaking about buying land in Africa. Everybody is showing us on Facebook and Instagram what houses they built, the developments they're doing in their country. Yet they're not even there. While they're here, they've built houses and mansions and bought land. Who is gaining from those lands that we've built down there? Is it not the people who are living in the country? Yet as we're struggling here to send money for things to be bought. When I send money for fundi kulipwa, for the workers who are building maybe my house to be paid, for building materials to be bought, am I not developing my own country, my own people? The problem with our people back in Africa is, even when you try to like help them themselves and to like tell them things that are actually important to them, they don't like it. I wonder how we always want the Western world to understand us and to embrace us if we don't embrace ourselves. You realize that Africans, especially my sisters and brothers in Kenya, they'd rather be entertained and danced for and this crazy stuff. But matters of the serious things they don't like. It's a bad attitude, and that's why we lag behind. When serious things are being discussed, they're not interested. They're not interested. All they want is for you to do what? To dance for them and to. It's a bit unfortunate. But anyway, it's in our blood. But as we do what we do, and God knows, these things that bring Wazungus, bring the Western people to work in our countries, the diasporans have come abroad, learned about them, seen it, practiced it, and now recognize the opportunities back at home that would have otherwise been filled by the whites. Yeah? They're now moving back and showing interest in moving back into the continent to take up these opportunities and to help build the country. So it's not just about being abroad and then wanting to come back for retirement in retirement times and to sit back in a well-built house and a nice, beautiful story building. No. We're also here to just see how these people who come to take up opportunities and to manage companies in our countries and organizations, where they land. If your former manager in Kenya, for example, was from Australia, and you are wondering, this is a Kenyan company and it's being managed by an Australian, and then God gives you opportunity to go to Australia. Of course, you'd want to, if you're that sharp, you'd want to learn about. To learn and to be a professional in things like what this ex-boss of yours was doing, so that you come back home and take his position up. The West people are still in our continent in big positions, leading us, advising the government, because our own people still lack this know-how. So as diasporans are here picking up and packaging and harvesting all these ideas to come and replace them out there. So those are also the reasons why we are surviving here. We are surviving here despite the fact that it's cold, snowy, not everybody smiles at you all the time, We are doing a lot. Africans are supporting even small businesses. You hear a brother or a sister saying, I want to start this small business. I want to start a boda piki business. I want to start a shop business. Could you please support me? We are investing in our brothers and sisters' businesses. Because anyway, it's very difficult as a diasporan to do a business in your absence in your country. So all you can do is to invest in other people's, or to merge with other people and build up an enterprise together. So we are investing in Africa's emerging markets and launching African-led businesses and enterprises to create jobs and push for economic growth. We are helping to push up the African economic growth by doing all we can do. We are very important. If it was not for this opportunity to be abroad, if it was not for the sacrifice we make to go abroad, it would be difficult for even our youths to be able to start their own businesses and be self-employed. They'll be depending, still waiting in line in many, many numbers. Though even up to date, there's others who still think employment is the only thing. So they're waiting in line after graduating. But those with open minds and with their people abroad, they already recognize the opportunities and saying, please, could you buy me a camera? Could you buy me a piki? It only costs this. I want to do boda. Could you buy me a car? I want to do taxi. Who is investing in them? Is it not the diaspora? So we are very important. I'm not gaining anything from what I do. But because of me and many other people definitely out there, we have given opportunities to even our musicians. Look at the other day, Musa Jakadala performed in London. Yeah? And he's going to perform in London again very soon. Why? Because some Terry Nyang'ia somewhere was sent to his song by his producer. And Terry Nyang'ia thought wise to decorate this song, because it was the second song of this boy. His first song was Nyasiaya. I'm talking about Musa Jakadala as an example now. And his first song was Nyasiaya. Didn't hit that much, though it was beautiful. But it didn't hit that much because nobody had found a better way of exposing this boy There was local radio, yes, but local radio, not everybody hears local radio. Only the people who understand the languages listen to vernacular radio. And when Musa Jakadala is singing, he sings in Luo. That is now an example, yeah? Musa Jakadala, for my friends who are not from Kenya, is a music talent from my community, Luo in Kenya. So I'm just using him as an example because of the love that I have for him. So this guy was talented. This guy produced a song. But this song, because it was in a language that only a small group of people understand, was being played where? In a local radio station that actually even asked for money for this music to be played. So then nobody recognized that song. And then some Terry somewhere from the diaspora, a girl from the diaspora that loves African music, yeah, somebody recognized it and sends this boy's song to her. And this girl makes something big out of it that makes this boy just blow up like a balloon. So I took the opportunity when I got the Hera Remo, the second song of Musa Jakadala, Hera Remo. Everybody knows what I did with Hera Remo, spontaneously, out of just love and talent. I didn't even know how big it was going to be, but I did it with my whole heart and soul. I didn't get even a penny from him. I don't even need it. But this is the importance of the diaspora and talents like us, because I'm talking about talents and expertise of the African diaspora that can help boost Africa's workforce development. So I danced to this song, posted it on YouTube and Facebook, and suddenly everybody, Kalenjin, Kikuyu, everybody was wondering who has sung this song. Suddenly Musa Jakadala was everywhere. From Monday to Monday, this boy is booked in Luo clubs. Yet Luo clubs are in Nairobi, Kisumu, and everywhere are always filled by every other tribe in Kenya. With that, he's creating employment because of the people who have been employed in that club everywhere. And those, he's boosting sales, people who come and drink. He's doing a lot. Don't just see that it's just about Hera Remo. The breweries are getting money out of this Hera Remo. Kenya breweries, for example, because they sell their beverages and drinks and Tusker and everything the whole night, the whole day, Monday to Monday, because of Hera Remo. The club employees, like the waiters, they have a daily bread because of Hera Remo. The taxi people who drive the drunk people left and right, they are getting money because of Hera Remo. And the club itself is paying tax and paying VAT. Why? Because of Hera Remo. So I do a small thing that people see for granted, and suddenly this young talent that nobody recognizes, is supporting the whole of Kenya, whether you like it or not. He is supporting the whole of Kenya. So you recognize what diasporans can do and are doing, and embrace us and include us in everything that is happening in our continent. African leaders, coming from the president to ministers to everybody, MPs, everybody. You need to urgently and seriously recognize these tremendous assets that you have in us. Stop closing the diasporans out. Stop thinking of how you want to do double tax on us. Yet we are already doing more than enough. Our remittance itself, the money we send through Western Union, the money we send through MoneyGram and all these things, the money we send in a daily basis into our country. Of course, it's taxed both here and at home. When I go send it here, this country will tax it because of the business that is on the, like if it's, for example, Wild Remit. Wild Remit is somebody's business, so he has to be taxed. And so my money is already developing Germany itself. Then this money travels to Kenya. When it reaches Kenya, Safaricom M-Pesa is a business of somebody again, or of the country. It has to tax something to be able to pay its taxes. So it's taxing there. When my mother or my sister or a friend from Facebook goes to collect it, she's also taxed by the M-Pesa person, because the M-Pesa person itself is also employed. And she earns from this money that I'm sending. So tell me, how else do you understand what diasporans are going through here? Diasporans are fully participating and helping and making Africa rich. Yet no leaders rarely recognize what we do. All you see us is to stop us from talking about votes. You want to block us at the airport. You don't want us to come back home. Yet our money is highly welcomed home. Our money, our support, applications, they are highly welcomed at home. But ourselves, we are not welcomed at home. Is that really fair? So African leaders, again I repeat, African leaders are around the whole continent from South Africa to Senegal or to Cameroon and Ghana. African leaders need to seriously recognize the tremendous assets that you have in us. We are an asset to our continent. The diasporans, the expatriates from Africa are riches, are gold mine for our continent. We are a gold mine, and use that word. Please mobilize, send this into parliament, into your discussions, into your bills, and help us to be able to be included in discussions that have something to do with our home countries. The best thing that even the African leaders could do is to also have an MP, a member of parliament, from the diaspora. We need in every country in the diaspora, from Australia, Uganda, Tanzania, everywhere. And also, if you're a Nigerian and you're listening to me, you're a Senegalese, you're listening to me, also propose that in your country. If we have a representative in parliament in Kenya, for example, when this representative comes back to the diaspora, you'll find that this person will be recognized also here and can bring these issues also out here and share them even stronger than when a president of Kenya comes maybe to speak in the Commonwealth meeting or whatever. But if you have somebody who really understands the diaspora, then you have also the diaspora parliament, where these MPs that are representing us in Kenya also have their meeting here. We could make things even bigger and stronger, and we could even market our country more. I think so. I hope a leader is watching me. We send money home because of the rate change. You know, €1 here can buy me absolutely nothing. Maybe Maybe a lollipop. But a lollipop is also €1 something. Yeah? So €1, if I send it home, sometimes it's 107 shillings, 100 bob. So 100 shillings is more stronger and can do something, can help even buy a piece of bread and milk and make breakfast than me using it here. So this is the reason we send it home. So when I send 100 bob home, I'm remaining with nothing here. I forgot maybe a burger, because a burger would be just one piece of burger. One piece of burger for €1.20, which is a small burger with some old cucumber inside. You don't know where the meat came from. Just one, these thin ones that you just eat because you're desperate. That is the only burger that you can get for €1.20. And so I can forgo that burger and say, instead of eating this thing that I will not even like, it may even make my stomach pain, then let me just drink water or take a cup of tea like mine when it's getting cold here, and send this €1 home, because even when they tax it, they might tax 20 bob here, tax maybe 20 bob at home, and then still 60 shillings will still land in somebody's hands, and 60 shillings will still buy the milk. And milk, a packet of milk, if you boil it and put more water in, some water in it and some ketepa inside, it will make tea for many people. So you see why we send money home, and you don't see it. So as what you see is money, money, money. We are staying hungry here to help our people. Yeah? We come here, when we come to the diaspora, we come knowing already what we go through at home. So we sacrifice to leave home to come here to be able to bridge gaps, to be able to support and to boost the status or the situation of our people, to be able to eradicate poverty. We are trying to eradicate poverty. We are trying to not make our people depend on the government, but to depend on themselves. The diaspora work so hard. In some countries, they are allowed to do more than one job. They are allowed to do more than one job because even the governments there recognize that if they don't do those jobs, they'll be poor. They'll be poor, they'll be depending on the government. Because first, what our fathers and mothers already laid, the image that they laid on in the Western's eyes, in the West people's eyes about us, already degrades us. So when we come here, even with our knowledge and our expertise and stuff, they still lower us down. So the jobs that we think would give us good money, we cannot get them. So we have to do these shallow jobs to be able to add up, to be able to earn a living. So I can go and clean somewhere, I can go and iron in somebody's house, I can go and babysit somewhere. Only when I do those three things, which would add up to 14 hours work, is when I can be able to put together maybe 30,000. And this 30,000, I've not paid my house, I've not paid the taxes here, I've not even looked for my medical insurance, because we also get sick. People at home need me to call every day. That is money going to the government. And they also need this money from me. And then still you want to tax me again here. What? Are we not a blessing for our country? You see us as a curse for the country. Yet we are a blessing to you. We give you already more than enough. The World Bank itself says and shows every year how much the African continent gains from the diaspora. Most of the leaders who are holding the offices out there that are making laws are people who came from rich families. And they came only to the diaspora to study or for exile with money and with their parents' money. They didn't really go through what a real diasporan from the village, a real normal diaspora who has come through a long process of looking for a visa and looking for somebody to give them bank statements. These bank statements that you hear about, these are things that we even hire. You pay for, like in Germany, sometimes we have to pay for we have to get friends together to fundraise for a visa extension. You'll find that these friends of yours that are struggling with cleaning, they come together with their money to be able to even raise for you maybe 600,000 put in your account so you get a visa. Then you have to pay this money back. And these are money from different people that will be even difficult for you to get, because you can get that visa. And the visa people tell you that they need to see that money in your account every day. Or they even want to hold your bank account for a certain number of months to be able to prove that money is yours. And now your people who you borrowed this money from to go and tell the government of Germany that this is your money, they need their money. So your money has been stuck somewhere because the government is controlling it to see if it's really yours. And you can't tell them you borrowed it, because that would be wrong. Because as a student, you're needed to have either somebody sponsoring you here 100%, or your family sending money for you here. In Germany, if I earn, it's like pay as you earn. If I earn 50,000, 25,000 goes to the government. I only remain with 25,000. Everybody who works, and if you're too disparate and you don't have a choice, and then you work illegally, then when the police get hold of you, or when they realize it, you land in jail or you're deported back home. Where do you start? Like I told you, the people who own the country, like now here in Germany, the kids here are very lazy. They need this money from the government. So me as an African, I'm not expected to depend on the government. So if I ever try to depend on the government, that is when I block ways for other people from other countries like Syria or Afghanistan who really need to be here. Because now I'll be giving the country this image of we are coming here to beg, we are coming here to depend on them. So I just want to say, may God bless you. Until next time, bye.